What's going on, guys? It's JFT back with Combat Sports Central, and today we're doing something like I like to call, I'm going to start calling it Out of the Weekend. Now, what does I mean by out of the weekend? We all know that combat sports are pretty much centralized to the weekend, so we get a lot of weekend events. So in this, we're going to look at all the events that happened in the weekend, all of the events for combat sports that we can start talking about. And if I miss anything, I want you guys to comment it down below, and I will talk about it on Thursday with the MMA Talk JFT show. But let's go and start with the biggest MMA organization in the world. UFC put on its Fight Night Boston with Reyes and Chris Weidman headlining. But let's first off look a little further down the card. Rufus Sport, if you don't know, Duke Rufus, who's trained the likes of Anthony Pettis, he took in CM Punk. Ben Askren has trained there. Macy Barber and Brendan Allen both have trained out of Rufus Sport and both had successful nights at UFC Boston. Brendan Allen was the second fight on the card. Macy Barber, I believe, opened the main card or was the second fight on the main card. For Allen, it was his first fight in the UFC coming off of the Contender Series, and Macy Barber got another UFC win. She's currently undefeated at 8-0. Now, Allen, on one hand, has a bunch of fights. You can look at my video that I did on him, a career retrospective on him. He's had a lot of fights in the LFA with guys that are now signed by the UFC, and he lost a couple, so they've kind of lined themselves up. Eric Anders, one of the names. Anthony Hernandez, another one of the names. Brendan Allen was one of the last LFA middleweight champions, and to find his way into the UFC, Eric Anders was the first. There's a story there. I think that sounds like it's going to be the next fight for Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen, beast of a fighter, been fighting since I believe he was 18 years old as an amateur, so be sure to keep an eye on him. But I want to focus for Macy Barber here because I have one thing I want to... Macy Barber has been on this trend of calling out Paige VanZant. Paige VanZant has one last fight on her UFC contract. She's probably one of the biggest names in women's MMA. And not because she's like a dominant superstar champion fighter. She's good looking. She's done out of UFC promotional stuff, Dancing with the Stars, Instagram, Sports Illustrated, stuff like that. So it's common to see fighters calling out Paige VanZant to fights. Paige VanZant goes on Helwani's show, says, these girls are all calling me out. These girls all want to fight, but I'm out here making more money without fighting. And now Paige VanZant wants to get back in there. Macy Barber keeps calling her out. My opinion on all of it is that Macy Barber should move straight on into a top 5 fight because I believe that she's at this point earned it. So I think that within this next couple of weeks, we're going to get to see Macy Barber probably move on from Paige VanZant because that fight won't be available to her, and she's going to get somebody in the top 8, I would assume, in December because Macy on Ariel Helwani's show was talking about the fact that she might get that fight. We're going to keep an eye on what Macy Barber chooses to do. She's going to be the youngest. She's attempting to be the youngest UFC champion in history. That is currently held by Johnny Bones Jones. We'll see if she's able to do that, but I could see a title in the very near future for her. Also, further down the card, main event. Well, we'll start with the co-main event. Co-main event, Yair Rodriguez picks up a big win against Jeremy Stephens in what was a great fight, in what was a fight that got Dana White to say he wished it was 5 rounds. With Yair Rodriguez pulling out a decision, he now holds a solid position in the top 10 and probably has a good chance of moving up to fight somebody in that top 6 range on his way to a title shot. There's the Zabit history. Zabit has a fight with Calvin Kattar in Russia coming up, so we could see if Zabit wins that fight. Yair Zabit for a top 5 position at featherweight. We have Chang Sung Jung versus the Korean Zombie versus Brian Ortega coming up. There's a lot to talk about with the featherweight division going forward. By the end of the year, we should have a solid idea of who's in the top 5, who's going to be fighting for the title after Alexander Volkanovski. Max Holloway's got a division of killers that he's going to have to watch out for. Moving on, main event, Dominick Reyes puts himself in what I think is the number 1 spot at light heavyweight to fight John Jones, the defending reigning light heavyweight champion in the UFC, one of the most dominant champions in UFC history. So we'll see where he can go from there, but I would assume that Reyes is probably going to get a title fight in January or February, and then John Jones in the summer will probably make his move up to heavyweight, barring the fact that he successfully defeats Dominick Reyes in a fight that I assume is going to be next. Now, that has to do with main UFC storylines for the UFC card, and there's one other thing I want to talk about out of the weekend. in the boxing world, a massive fight for the hardcore boxing enthusiasts. We have Artur Beterbiev taking on Oleksandr Gvozdyk in what was an awesome fight. Beterbiev gets the best of Gvozdyk, goes into the event 14-0 with 14 knockouts. Gvozdyk had some crazy record like 17-0 with 14 knockouts as well. And these two put on what a great performance. Technical boxing. It took 10 rounds for Artur Beterbiev to put Gvozdyk down. And now he is the reigning two belts in the light heavyweight division, WBC, and I believe it's the IBF. Don't quote me on that. But Artur Beterbiev in what is one of the most stacked divisions in boxing, with this being the awesome fight for hardcore boxing fans, and Canelo Alvarez coming up to fight Sergey Kovalev for another belt at light heavyweight. It would be actually extremely interesting if Canelo Alvarez is to beat Sergey Kovalev, if he's going to try and unify the light heavyweight division by fighting a killer in Artur Beterbiev, who only has 15 professional fights. It's what I think is the strongest division in pro boxing right now, and I'm super, super interested in seeing where the light heavyweight division goes from here. That'll do it for the main out of the weekend stats, futures, stuff like that. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to smash that like button. If you want to know more topics, if you want to influence the next couple videos, make sure to leave a comment on what you want to see. But that'll do it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out, guys.